Tzeentch is a collector of knowledge, in all its forms, striving to learn the secrets of the universe, so that he may gain the upper hand over his brethren in the great game. In Warhammer 3, Tzeentch's campaign mechanics will rely heavily on repositories of knowledge in the form of grimoires. Battles, buildings and dilemmas are but a few of the ways that grimoires can be generated in the campaign. But grimoires alone don't do much. It is the mechanics that use them that show Tzeentch's true power. The first mechanic which Tzeentch's factions will have access to is the changing of the ways. This system allows for the player to manipulate the other factions on the map. The abilities range from simple observation to outright interference in the affairs of any faction which you have encountered. There are currently 10 actions which can be performed as part of this mechanic, each scaling in the number of grimoires required based on how powerful the action's effects are on the campaign. Starting from the top left and working our way down, we have Reveal Faction Intentions. This shows the player the plans of all armies of a specified target faction. What this exactly entails is somewhat of a mystery, though it is likely to show the paths that armies will take, and perhaps their target. For example, we could be observing Cathay and see that they have an army north of the Great Bastion, heading deeper into the Chaos Wastes. In a tooltip that appears when the player hovers over the army, we might get the army's final destination. We might also see if the army has stopped to recruit or replenish casualties, and how long that action might take. I guess we won't really know until we see some gameplay. This could be quite useful in creating ambushes or in taking advantage of the enemy when the armies are out of position and have left an opening or a very tempting target. Track Army. This ability will let the player see what the targeted army can see. It will last a few turns and might prove useful to expand the player's knowledge of the map through unwitting proxies. Halt Faction. This devious ability very much fits in with Tzeentch's MO. It allows the player to disable the movement of all characters and armies for a turn. Want to take advantage of an enemy army on the march? Want that extra turn to reinforce a contested settlement? Want a little more time to lay a cunning trap? Well, this is the action to use. It will be interesting to see how the AI uses this ability. Will it use it at random intervals, or will it be smart enough to trigger it when it could hurt the most? Time will tell, I guess. But regardless of the smarts behind its use, when this is sprung upon the player, it will make for some very amusing footage. Break Alliance. This will simply break any alliance between two factions. A great way to weaken an opponent before going to war, or perhaps a handy tool to disrupt relations between factions, so that the seeds of distrust can be further sown between them. Transfer Settlement. Have you been struggling to conquer a well-fortified settlement? Do you want to expand your holdings to a new area of the map? Well, this is the action that will allow just that. The targeted settlement will be transferred fully to your control. Now, what happens to an army that was stationed there is unknown, though they will likely appear outside the city, or perhaps be moved to their nearest region. A more devious use of this ability, for those who really get into role-playing Tzeentch, would be to take the settlement and transfer it to another faction entirely. Don't like Kislev? Take their capital and give it to Nurgle, and then sit back and watch the fireworks. It will be interesting to see if there are any limits imposed on this ability. Will the player be able to take the last settlement of a faction, causing it to be wiped out? Will the player require line of sight of the settlement, or will it be enough that the fog of war in that area has been previously revealed? In the second column, once again starting from the top and working our way down, we have Reveal Shroud. This command will allow the player to see all the territory owned by the targeted faction. Will come in handy when searching for those final outposts of an enemy. Force Rebellion. This action will cause a rebel army to be spawned in the target region. Hopefully these will not be pushovers, and the armies spawned will be worth the cost in grimoires. It will be interesting to see if the rebel armies can be spawned within the player's own territory, allowing for some cheesing of the rebel armies to level up characters. Open gates. Can't be bothered scaling the walls with your magic butt ladders? Then why not open the gates ahead of time with this handy action? I'm not sure how useful this will really be, as gates quickly become clogged, but the option is nice to have. Give war coordination target. This gives a specified faction a war coordination target, even if they're not allied to the player. Hopefully factions given this will act upon it more often and more decisively than currently happens with allies, as I often find the AI ignores my targets even when they are a region or two away. Force war. As it says on the label, force a war between two factions. I assume that they cannot have an alliance or defensive pact, so some preparation and prior manipulation of the factions may be required. I'd be curious to know how aggressive the factions will be toward one another. Will the wars be bloodless affairs, where each faction sits there and does nothing, preferring to ignore one another and concentrate on the player instead? Nevertheless, it could come in handy and will make for some very fun moments. A number of the skills are locked behind technologies, so you won't be manipulating the campaign too much to start, but once you have built up your options, it will be a lot of fun playing God with the other factions on the map. I'm very much looking forward to causing havoc with this mechanic, which I think is a wonderful change of pace, and appears to open up a whole new way to play. What are your thoughts on the changing of the ways mechanic? What devious plans will you put in motion? This video was brought to you with the help of my patrons. A big thanks to Hot Apple Pie, Alexander, and to Solarith Magnetar. I'm Grey Tiger, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.